All right, I have a bone to pick, and I thought maybe a little bit of ridiculous bam bam hair while I am picking said bone would be appropriate. So there's this thing that I hear a lot from people, and that is that they're afraid that if they do spiritual work or personal growth, or they embark on whatever the like journey that they're being called forth to do or inspired to do, or something that's caught their attention or curiosity, that they will leave their partner behind, or that they will uncover something within themselves or grow to a place that they will no longer be able to be with their partner. And if you think about it, that's a pretty big motivator, the fear of losing your love, to get us to not do something. And the bone I have to pick is that I hear this perpetuated in the spiritual community. It gets tossed about like it's just fact sometimes. I heard recently someone say, a lot of you who are doing this work are going through breakups and divorces, and that's really common while you're doing, that's to be expected while you're doing this work. And it makes me cringe, and it makes that mama bear protective energy in me come out, because I don't want you to have to feel that fear unnecessarily. However, if you are in a relationship and you are looking for an excuse to leave, totally different story. In that case, by all means, use this as your excuse. Seriously, no judgment. Great, use it as your excuse. I'm going through this evolutionary expansion and you don't feel like the right person for me anymore. Awesome, do that. But if you really want to be with this person, the number of people I see, and I've been doing this a long time, the number of people I see who have this fear, I have had it myself, versus the number of people who actually wind up then having a breakup or relationship end, totally disproportionate, number one. Then of those people who have a breakup, the fact that that breakup had anything whatsoever to do with the spiritual work they're doing is like, does it even register? It's just not that common, okay? Breakups and heartache are common in our culture, in our lives anyway, but I want you to think for a second about what it is that you're saying in that. And I don't mean you in particular, what we're saying when we say that. Is this hair cracking you up? It's cracking me up. So what we're saying, number one, we're saying that spiritual growth is like a ladder, and the higher you go, the better you are than somebody who has gone not as far, and you get like woke. And I'm sorry if it doesn't effing work that way, okay? Because there's no ladder that you climb. There's no I'm better than you because I've done this for longer, because I've meditated for more days or whatever. So if you see that energy coming at you, stop and think to yourself, how spiritual does that sound? Right? No, this is not a competition. I have met some of the most tapped in, I hesitate to use the word evolved, but evolved, like, and again, not in that like outward sense, not in that like, oh my God, he's so evolved, he eats quinoa, like, no, I love quinoa, but it doesn't make me spiritual, okay? But truly tapped in, connected to all that is, part of nature, the universe, like really, really impressive, incredible people in every walk of life. I have met old loggers like that. I have met break dancers I have met hippies. I have met like different careers, different people who have never studied spirituality, who would never call themselves spiritual, who don't spend time journaling and collecting crystals and card decks. And you know, I love that stuff, but that's not what makes us spiritual. People have an infinite capacity to inspire you if you're willing to look in there. So that's number one. Like, let's get off that thought train and recognize that if we're thinking that like I'm going to leave someone behind, we could be pulling in a little bit of that belief in there, and then it's just horseshit. That like you're better once you've done this work. I mean, you might be happier, you might be a better version of you, but you're not a better human. I mean, and maybe you're a nicer human, maybe you're better to other people, maybe you're more compassionate, great. But not everyone who's nice and compassionate and loving and wonderful does spiritual work. We all have different things that we do in different ways that we do it. Number two, I want you to think about what that's saying about your partner. So there's this thing we do in relationships, and this will have to be a whole nother video to explain it. There's this thing that we do in relationships where we assume that someone is not changing. And we look at our partner and we say like, you're not changing because you're not doing it the way I think you should, or I can't see your growth, or you didn't take any of those classes I told you to take, or any of the suggestions that I had, and so you're just not growing. Or you're always the same, because we look for the evidence of everything to be the same all the time, especially the things we're pissed about and the things that drive us nuts. And what happens is we hold them right there and we don't let them change. Now, you can't force someone not to change, but you can use your expectation and get them to continue to show you the exact version of them over and over and over again. Now, in every other aspect of their life, they're totally changing. Completely different, because humans are evolutionary. We are always changing. But to you, they get stuck falling back into the old damn patterns. And if you don't believe me, think about the last time you went home and all of a sudden you were like a 16-year-old again, having the same like eruptive behavior, or like refusing to do dishes. And you're like, what is happening to me? I'm a grown-ass person. I'm falling into these old behavior patterns. I don't know what's going on. Expectation. You and everybody else expecting what they remember. So this is one of the things that we learn in relationship alchemy, is how to not do that for your partner, how to actually encourage the evolution with what you see and view and appreciate in them, instead of holding them the same in those patterns that drive you nuts, which is, I mean, everybody does this. So when we're coming from that, I'm afraid of leaving my partner behind, the subtle thing we're saying is, because I don't think they're growing, rude, and I don't think they're capable of keeping up with me, and I don't think that, if I do think they're growing, I don't think whatever they're growing into is going to be good enough to be with me once I climb my spiritual ladder. That's just a dick thing to say, right? And if you're with this person, you probably think, or at least used to think highly of them. You probably know better than to think that they would be that like crappy. And people are always growing. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. That phrase, people don't change. We say that when we're mad and we're hurt, and we don't think people are changing the way we want them to. Really. But everyone is changing all the time. We are growing and evolving. We're evolutionary. We are expanding. So people are changing. I promise you, your partner is changing. You probably can't see it. Partly because you're right there, and partly because you're looking for the things you've always expected. I have seen and experienced, and I teach this over and over and over and over and over again, that oftentimes opposites attract. And so usually, often, you'll get one partner who grows in one way and one partner who grows in another way. a lot of people I see and work with who do this kind of spiritual work and who do the really outward, like you could see my progress and growth because there's 100 journals of it, because there's classes that I take and videos that I make, and it is very, very obvious. Because there's the days where I'm curled in a ball crying as I'm processing something. I could tell you about it real time. And then there's the people who, when they go through a metamorphosis, did I get that right? Yeah. When they go through a metamorphosis, they are just quiet. I had a partner once who I used to joke, because this was one of the people that I was afraid was never, ever going to keep up with me. Wasn't going to be able to keep up with me. He's not doing the things I'm doing. I don't see him journal ever. This was quite a while ago. And I would do my work to release that concern. I would do my work to remember his greatness. I would do my work to remember his evolutionary whatever, and that he's doing his thing and that it doesn't have to be my way. And I would do my work to be able to see his growth. And then I would sit down on the couch one day and I would turn around, and lo and behold, he's a new motherfucking person. All this stuff has changed. And I would try to trace it back, like, what did he do? Because all I could see is that he sat on the couch and looked at his iPad. That's all I could see. But he was inwardly shifting and growing and changing and evolving and processing and all these things. And then this new version started to come out. And how often in relationships, as we are, I need a different, I don't want to do this because it looks too much like a ladder. As we are growing and evolving as people, so there's a new version of you, new version of you, new version of you, and your partner's doing the same, new version, new version, new version. Do we grow, and then meet? Grow, and then meet? Way more often. Sometimes, eventually, after you've grown and met each other a whole bunch of times, depending on the length of your relationship, there's a point where you grow and then you grow apart. But sometimes we look and we say, like, look at all the people who grow apart. What about the 250 times over the course of the years that they spent together, did they grow and meet each other in their evolution? So I want you to hopefully feel a little better about this concept of leaving your partner behind. That's not to say that sometimes our spiritual growth can't be triggering for our partners, especially if we present it in a way that is unknown to them or sounds really out there, and maybe it sounds like we're getting real weird. You might have to tell your partner, like, I'm not cutting off chickens' heads and drinking blood in the middle of a forest under a full moon. It's not the work I'm doing. That's different. I'm learning some meditation techniques. It's not that crazy or whatever. But ultimately, more often than not, and this is something to like learn for sure, what I see with my clients is that their relationships, although sometimes while you're evolving and they're evolving, you're missing each other a bit. Sometimes. And if you can stay on like the openness of that and know that eventually you come back around, you can find so much more peace, because that's what I see happen over and over and over and over again. All right, I hope this was helpful. Let me know, send me questions. We'll make another video. Maybe I can recreate this Bam Bam hair, but probably not. I love you guys.